So again, going back to protein, not only do we want to eat it with breakfast, and not only do we want to eat it with snacks, but we want to have it in every meal, and that's going again to really keep you from going hangry. um, and this can look different for different people, depending on what your diet and lifestyle looks like, right? And even values and beliefs. So some people are vegetarians, some people are omnivores, some people are vegans. It doesn't matter. You just have to make sure that you're meeting your protein needs and you're getting a full spectrum of protein. So omnivores usually have it pretty easy. You can eat all types of protein. So getting a variety of amino acids is pretty easy if you're cognitive of it. If you're just eating the same things every day, then it can be an issue. But vegans, vegetarians, a little bit more limited, not impossible, just limited. And you really need to make sure that you're getting those amino acids. So in the animals protein section, you're going to have meat and poultry, seafood, fish, eggs, and then more in the vegetarian vegan sections, the legumes, tofu, tempeh, Greek yogurts. And then if that's not enough protein, I would definitely recommend getting a protein powder into your diet to make up for the lack of protein that you're getting from whole foods. That is better than nothing. So I am an advocate of protein powders if need be. But calculating your protein needs is really important. So working with a registered dietitian, or some clinician, a professional healthcare clinician that knows, your specific needs based on your lifestyle and your background, and whatever it is that you're going through at that moment, is really important. So when we're talking about starches, it's not that starches are bad. I always recommend that people are getting their carbohydrates and starches from whole foods. So whether that is starchy vegetables such as sweet potatoes pictured here, everything from butternut squash to any kind of tuber vegetable. So you have other starches, other potatoes, excuse me. And then you have your non-starchy vegetables, which are more like your green leaves and your broccolis and cauliflowers and Brussels sprouts and kales and asparagus. And all of those are non-starchy, but your starchy ones are going to contain a little bit more carbohydrates, and they're not bad again, but however, they're still carbohydrates and they can still spike blood sugar when eaten alone. But if you pair them with protein and fat, that's really when you're going to start to see a difference in how they make you feel. So you may not get as sleepy, or you may not have to have as much. That is really the science to eating, is making sure that your macros are balanced. So if you're looking at your plate, I would make sure that half of your plate is always non-starchy vegetables. A quarter of your plate is a little bit of starchy vegetables, and then your other quarter is your protein. So that's just kind of visual of what I would recommend. However, everyone needs are very different, and so definitely personalize that to what you need for your lifestyle. So when choosing healthy fats, there's quite a bit out there. There's a lot of different types of fats, and we need a mixture and balance of all of them. Only if they're actual, real, healthy fats. We do have a category of fats, as I discussed before, that are more man-made. They're trans fats, they're hydrogenated fats. Those are the ones we want to stay away from. But if it's coming from nature, if it's coming from an animal, if it's coming from a plant, all of those are great fats. And it's not just where it's coming from, however, it's also the quality of when it arrives to you. So this is something that people overlook a lot. Olive oil is a great example of this. Olives have a lot of monounsaturated fat, very healthy fat. We need it in our diet. However, the way that these oils are processed sometimes can degrade the oil, and it can cause it to go rancid. And so by the time we buy it, unfortunately, it's not going to have all of the properties that all this research says, and all these antioxidants that we know olive oil being healthy for. So making sure you buy locally is always a really good start. I always tell people to look for the words. Making sure your fats are always organic is very important, because fat is perceived by the body as a toxin. And so if you are eating bad quality fats, it's going to recognize that as a toxin. And it's also, toxins are stored in fat cells. So definitely organic is the way to go here. The other thing to look for is making sure it's cold pressed. So when when oil is pressed out of a plant, they can use high heat, high pressure, or they can use very slow cold compression. And that really starts to, that doesn't degrade the oil as much. And so it keeps all of those really healthy properties intact. The other thing is you want to make sure it comes in a dark glass container. You never want it to be clear in plastic. That is the worst way to store vegetable oil. And when I say vegetable oil, I mean healthy vegetable oil. There's a difference. But that way, light degrades oil. So if you keep it in a dark glass container, again, you're going to have less risk of it degrading. So those are some tips there. Again, local is always important, because where it travels from, by the time it reaches you, it could be really old, and it, again, won't have the properties that it should have. So buying local is great. Try not to get olive oil from Italy. I know it sounds wonderful, and we all know that Italy has amazing olive oil, but again, the travel time it takes to get here, it's just probably not going to be a wonderful oil when it arrives. So I can't say that for all of them, but that is the case typically when any food travels that far from you. Nutrition just starts to deplete. That's just how it works. So, and then you have your saturated fats, which are your coconut oils. They're found in animal foods. So anything that's solid at room temperature is a saturated fat. Those are really good oils to cook with, because they're super stable. Unlike your unsaturated fats that are a little bit more delicate, your saturated fats do really well in high heat temperature. So those are always good to use. And then you have your really delicate fats, such as your fish oils, your flaxseed, your chia seeds. Those contain omega-3s. Those should never be exposed to heat at all costs. So you want to keep any of those types of oils in the fridge. Never store them on your shelves. Even if you're taking fish oil supplement, store it in the fridge. Otherwise, toss it, because it's probably rancid and it's not good for you at that point. So those are usually and then you have your polyunsaturated fats, which are found in like nuts and seeds. But all of those are your healthy fats and oils that you do want to be consuming in a good variety, good amount. There's different ratios to take these oils in, but predominantly as a society, especially Americans, we definitely overconsume polyunsaturated fats for sure. So trying to make sure that our fats are a little bit more diverse in our diet is a really good idea. Let's go ahead and move on to magnesium. So magnesium is a really interesting mineral. About 50% of the US population is deficient in magnesium. This is something that has recently kind of exploded in the research world, and definitely in the kind of nutrition propaganda in terms of it being a cure-all for everything. It's an incredibly important nutrient. And again, because most Americans are deficient in it, they do benefit from supplementation if food is not enough. These are some foods that contain magnesium naturally. Again, however, high doses of magnesium sometimes are needed instead. And it's hard to get that from foods in the amounts that we need when we're really, really stressed. and we're in this state of severe depletion. So if food is not doing it for you, I always recommend taking about a 500 milligram capsule of magnesium. Just be careful here, because if you do take too much magnesium, it can cause some GI upset. And then if that does happen to you one day, just scale back the next day. Magnesium is water soluble, so you'll never have to worry about overdosing in it. It just gets cleared through the body, but hence why the GI symptoms. So just a little warning there, but it is a wonderful mineral to take for stress relief. Okay, so wrapping it up here, just want to talk about and leave you with these questions to think about in terms of everything we covered today. But what have you learned in terms of how your food choices may be affecting your mood or your productivity, right? We talked about neurotransmitters and needing amino acids in our diet, which come from protein foods, and a variety of protein foods are needed to create a lot of different neurotransmitters. And then we also talked about blood sugar control, right? What types of foods can you put in your diet or take out of your diet to help control your blood sugar throughout the day and make better choices? Do you consume any substances that can cause stress? And can you eliminate or reduce any of these? This is really important. We've kind of already touched on this, but this is very personal to everyone. I understand that. And it's just more of a reflection. So, take it for what it's worth, but I definitely encourage everyone to really think about what they're consuming and how much they're consuming of it on a daily basis, and if that can be affecting their stress levels. And then how will these changes affect your life? If you do make these small changes, just sit with it for a week, even, or 2 weeks, or a month, whatever you want to commit to it, because it doesn't happen overnight. It may happen in a week. I feel like a lot of people make pretty big changes, and they definitely will feel a difference within a week of making these changes. But just listen to your body, see how it works for you, and you can always adjust as you go.